Today I'm going to show you how to make our most popular crock pot recipe from last year. It is super popular and everybody's loving it. It's crock pot chicken and rice. I personally love it because it's a one-pot dinner. That means everything is cooking in your slow cooker and you really just have to set it and forget it. You're going to love this recipe and it will be on a regular repeat for you every single week or month. Now make sure you stay tuned towards the end of the video because we're going to talk about different ways that you can change this recipe up and make it your own, and including like using different rices and kind of troubleshooting if you ever have any problems. But in the meantime, stay tuned. Go ahead and grab the recipe. I have it linked in the description, or you can go to eatingonadime.com. Oops, I forgot to tell you my name. My name is Carrie and I run the website eatingonadime.com. We're on a mission to help families eat well on a budget, and this recipe is exactly it. Since it's a chicken and rice recipe, we're actually able to stretch the chicken, which is stretching your budget because we're using it in a casserole. So for this recipe, we're going to start with 2 boneless, skinless chicken breasts, okay? Whoop, whoop. And we're going to go ahead and dice it up into about 1-inch pieces. This is literally the hardest part of the recipe, and it's not hard at all. So we're going to just cut them into slices. We're wanting them into 1-inch pieces, and the reason is we're just wanting them into bite-sized pieces. Since this is a one-pot dinner, we don't want to have to shred it at the end. If you prefer shredded chicken, you can do that. This is just going to make it a lot easier at the end. Now for this recipe, we are doing boneless, skinless chicken breasts, but I think boneless, skinless chicken thighs would work great as well, but you would still want to cut them into that 1-inch pieces just to make it easier to eat. Once those are done, we're going to go ahead and add that to our crock pot. I am using a 6-quart crock pot. You do not have to have a fancy crock pot. Any slow cooker will work for this recipe. Okay, I got all washed up and cleaned up. We are using a new cutting board. As you'll see, this one's a little bit smaller, and a new knife because we do not want to cross-contaminate with our chicken. We're going to do a half of an onion diced. Onions are actually, if your kids don't love onions, you can throw this in a food processor to make it really small, or you could use like dried onion. And some people, if you're really lazy, just throw in a handful of frozen onions. Now, I kind of we have a certain way that we cut our onions so that way it's really easy to dice up. I'm going to include the link for that how-to and for the video in the description as well. Because as you can see, you get these perfect diced onions every single time, and it's really quick and easy to do. Then we're just going to place this into the crock pot and add some minced garlic. We're going to add about a teaspoon of minced garlic. Today I'm using just already minced garlic, but you can also mince your own garlic as well. Okay, now we're going to add a teaspoon of black pepper and a teaspoon of salt. The seasonings are really simple, but they add a lot of flavor. Sometimes you don't need a lot of fancy seasonings. We're going to add a can of cream of chicken soup. If you don't really like using the cream of chicken soups, we actually have a homemade version that's a little bit better for you. On eatingonadime.com. They'll have the link in the description, but you can always just go to our website and then in the search box type in cream of chicken, like homemade cream of chicken, and you'll pull up that recipe. It's actually so easy to make. We're going to do 3 cups of chicken broth. You can do water, but I highly recommend broth for this recipe. And then we have about 1.5 cups of brown rice. Now, I highly recommend you use brown rice for this recipe instead of like a white rice, and we'll talk about that kind of towards the end. But brown rice is just sturdier and will hold up since we're adding it at the beginning of the cooking time with the chicken. Now remember, this brown rice is raw and uncooked. It hasn't been cooked at all. It's going to cook in the crock pot. We're just going to stir to combine. It's completely okay to have a little bit of chunks. That's going to soften up as it cooks. Now we just got to cover, and we're going to turn this on high for about 3.5 to 4 hours. It does not take very long, and that brown rice is actually cooking in the crock pot. Now, if you have issues with cooking rice in your crock pot, another option is to use a minute rice or an instant rice, but you don't want to add it at the beginning. We highly recommend that you wait and add it in the last 30 minutes to an hour of cooking time, but this is kind of more of a set it and forget it, and the brown rice will be perfect every single time. But our trick is to make sure it's uncooked and to make sure it's completely covered with liquid, as you can see that it was. Okay, we're gonna let this cook and we will be back. Now, after this is done, you're gonna know that it's getting done because it's really thick and not watery. So the key to this is to let it just sit and don't keep peeking at it while it's cooking. Then we're going to add in about 2 cups of shredded cheese. I highly recommend that you hand shred your cheese because I'm like a broken record on this. We talk about this all the time on our videos. But pre-shredded cheese that you buy at the store isn't made to melt. It's made to just like eat and top on tacos and stuff. And so it's gonna melt really stringy. If you just take the time to do hand shredded, you're just gonna have a way better casserole experience. It's gonna melt so much better. So we're gonna add this in, boop, 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 with the sound effects. And we're just gonna stir to combine. Now, this is just gonna take like 10 or 15 minutes to get it all melted. If you find that it's too thick, you can add just a smidgen of water or broth. I'm gonna add just a little bit of water, about 1/4 cup at a time, just to thin it down so it's smoothed out. But remember, it is a casserole. It's not like a chicken and rice. It's definitely a casserole. So it's going to be nice and thick. Let me get this out. Add this lid. It's already almost all the way melted. That's how fast that cheese melts. Now, I do want to give you a couple tips and tricks to make this a little bit different if you would like to, and to make it your own. Now, about 30 minutes before you're ready to add in the cheese, you can throw in vegetables. Honestly, you can throw in the vegetables at the beginning if you want to, like peas and carrots, some frozen, just like a frozen mixed bag in there. Green beans would all be great as well, and even broccoli. Now, broccoli tends to kind of fall apart, so I would probably wait 30 minutes to an hour before you're ready to eat to get it. It just won't stay as good, but maybe you want it really mixed in and you can throw it in at the beginning. But that way you have an entire 1-pot dinner. Even your vegetable is included in the pot. Okay, we are ready to dig in. It smells so good, and this recipe is one that the kids are going to love. Look at that cheesy yumminess. Oh, I'm so excited about this. It's a weird thing, but my husband really likes to top this with like tortilla chips or something for like an extra crunch on top. Again, another idea to take this simple recipe and kind of make it your own. It's super yummy and super delicious and very filling. Now make sure you head to the recipe. The link is in the description, or you can go to eatingonadime.com and just search chicken and rice casserole. You'll find a crock pot. This is the crock pot version, but we have some other versions as well. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. I don't want you to miss any more of our family-friendly recipes. We're on a mission to help you cook well for less, and I don't want you to miss any more of these videos. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoy this recipe. Once you make it, drop a comment and let us know how it turned out, and I would love it if you would rate our recipe and leave a comment on there as well. We love hearing from you. Thanks so much for joining me, and I will see you next time in my kitchen. Bye, friends.